I want to show you all something. This is my hat. I'm going to give you a tour of it. There's going to be more stuff on it eventually, but this is the start. So it's colorful because I dabbed my paintbrush on it while I was doing a painting. And I got it in Los Angeles. I got it in Venice Beach. I found it on the ground. So this bit, I wish you all could feel this. This is brutally sharp and hard. It's made of some very hard plastic. This is a piece of aggressive architecture. Have a look at that. It's a piece of aggressive architecture that someone very dear to me scraped off of a bench in New Mexico and gave to me later. He used to wear one on his hat. He used to always wear a white hat with a butterfly on it, and he put these spikes on this part. This is a piece of aggressive architecture that is meant to prevent homeless people from sleeping. It's a pretty obvious form of aggressive architecture. Aggressive architecture broadly means architecture, pieces of public spaces that are explicitly meant to keep people from sitting, keep people from staying still, and keep people from sleeping. This one, my friend scraped off a bench, like I say, and yeah. This, when you encounter it, it's pretty clear what it is, because no person sitting, like if you were to just try to sit on a bench and you sat on this, like you would immediately know it. There are subtler forms of aggressive architecture. Like, for example, you'll see benches that have armrests in the middle of them that are placed very awkwardly. Like, they're supposed to seem like armrests, but if you look at these benches, it's like two people, maybe my size, would have to sit right next to each other and each have an arm on an armrest. Those aren't actually armrests. They're to divide the bench in half so that homeless people can't lay down. Another form of aggressive architecture is when you see well, there'll be spikes here too, but like, so if you see a bridge in a city and there's a really intense slope going down to the road, that's also a form of aggressive architecture that exists only and specifically to prevent homeless people from sleeping. Because bridges are one place that is covered from the elements. I have the hiccups, sorry. I have the hiccups, I have a headache. Ugh. Okay. Goodness. Here, I'll give you the rest of the hat tour and then I'll tell you about what I saw today. Okay, so I found a pin that is a bird in a cage. And I found a paper clip with a bunch of keys on it. So I thought that these went really well together. I have a song called The Cage and the Key. This is not a reference to that, but I do have one. Yes. So the bird in the cage, I picked up specifically as a kind of acknowledgement of people experiencing addiction. I am very, very, very lucky that I am not experiencing addiction. I am completely sober of everything. I've never had a super intense addiction. I did get addicted to, I got addicted to ADHD medication when I was in college. And then this last year, I got diagnosed with severe dual type ADHD. My therapist read me for filth. This is funny. My therapist has ADHD. And she was like, Desa, you might want to get tested for that. And I was like, well, why not? She was right. And I took ADHD medication. I was literally immediately prescribed stimulant medication, and expressed my concern about getting addicted to it. Literally because I had been addicted in the past, I told the prescriber this. And they were like, that was years ago. We're gonna take care of you. It's all good. And so I gave it a go for about 2 months, started to feel like I was getting addicted to it. Yeah, started to feel like I was getting addicted to it. Expressed this to the prescriber. She was again, who is not my therapist, by the way, totally different person. Yes, the prescriber was completely dismissive of this again. She was like, you seem fine. Then shortly after that, she let me know that people who are low income, people who have low income health insurance, just like a month, within the month before she told me this, some law had changed within the system that required low income people only, not all people who take this medication, but low income people. It required them to be drug tested in order to receive this medication. This sent my red flags sky high because I personally know many people, more than 10 people, who live on the street, who are addicted to methamphetamine or other stimulants, because they first got prescribed stimulant ADHD medication exactly like I was on. And so even though I wasn't, like I say, like I'm completely sober, I literally haven't drank alcohol in a long ass time, years. I don't smoke weed anymore. I don't use anything. I don't use uppers, downers, absolutely nothing. Nothing prescription, nothing non-prescription, nothing. I'm also a certified recovery counselor. I'm certified to help people get sober. Even though that's the case, I think it's possible that I might smoke a joint sometimes, you know? I'm not planning on it, but I don't want to rule out the possibility. And yeah, in Oregon, it's like within a 10-block radius of where I am, there are probably at least 5 dispensaries where I can show my Oregon driver's license and purchase cannabis legally. Alcohol is completely legal, and I'm not an alcoholic. Like, drinking just sucks for me. That's literally why I don't do it. And so I was like, okay, this is not a safe situation for me to be in. Like, I do not want to be actively encouraged to get hooked on this medication, actively encouraged by medical professionals to become dependent on this medication. And then if I choose, because I am low income, literally, if I choose to smoke a joint, just like, and again, these rules don't apply to affluent people. If I choose to do the exact same thing, so say this happens all the fucking time. I'm one of the only sober people I know, like, which I don't give a rat's fucking ass what my friends do. You know what I mean? If people want to choose to drink, if people want to choose to smoke cannabis, whatever, fucking fine. But I'm in the situation all the time where everyone around me is smoking weed. Drinking is, for some reason, classified completely differently, even though I think we all know from experience that, like, you know, like, weed is termed the gateway drug. The gateway drug is fucking alcohol. And every single time somebody relapses on something more intense, it's because they drank first. Or tries something more intense. Like, in what situation does someone do cocaine when they're drinking? In what situation does someone, take illicit drugs, or party drugs when they're drinking? Yeah. So if I found myself in a situation like I do all the time, where I'm in a circle of people who are passing around a joint, and if one time I don't say no thank you, which I do, since I am a poor, if I were to do that, the prescriber, who completely nonchalantly, having known that I'm prone to addiction, would take away my access to this legal medication, and then expect me to not go find something similar on the street. And if you are not educated about how similar some stimulants that you can find on the street are chemically to legal stimulants, ADHD medication, please go educate yourself about that. So many people who I know as well who are addicted to opiates are people who were first prescribed them legally by doctors. The most addictive substance that I personally know of are benzodiazepines, are anti-anxiety medications. I have heard from literally many people who have been addicted to everything. Like, I hang out in recovery circles quite a bit. I literally have heard from many people that benzos are harder to get free of than fentanyl. And fentanyl is incredibly fucking difficult to get free of. Benzos are prescribed by doctors. I was offered, a doctor offered to prescribe them to me. I have some sort of tic disorder that is maybe Tourette's, maybe isn't. I've never had it diagnosed. But I have some sort of tic disorder that varies in levels quite a lot. Like many of you will hear me like, or, you know, something like this, or like I'll have facial tics or things like this. Sometimes when I'm in a lot of pain, they'll get a lot worse. And I had a really crazy double ear infection one time in Montana, and literally a doctor just offered to prescribe me benzos for my tics because they suppress the function of your nervous system. So that's why they're a medication for anxiety. They dial way down the functioning of your nerves. And lucky for me, I knew that this was one of the most addictive substances that exists. And I was like, no fucking thanks. I'll just be a little funny, you know, like I'm good. Like benzos can inhibit your ability to drive. They can inhibit your ability to work. They can inhibit your ability to function. And they can unbelievably severely dysregulate your nervous system such that you have 100 times the anxiety that you started out with. Okay, quick note, absolutely none of this is any shade to anyone with an addiction, anyone who uses drugs, anyone who says yes to prescription medication, anyone who says yes to street drugs. I literally am someone who, again, is completely sober and is certified to help other people get sober. And I think that the individualistic approach to sobriety is total horseshit. It's total horseshit. We have the highest rates of addiction in the United States of almost any country in the world. And the reasons for that are complex. But I'll make a video about that at some point. But one huge reason is because we treat it individualistically. Yeah, literally look up countries with lower addiction rates and look at how they deal with it. It ain't AA. It ain't 12-step. And again, like 12-step works for some people. And again, I'm saying this as someone who is completely sober. And I don't think that individuals choosing to be sober is the solution at all. Oh, so the reason why I want to make this video is twofold. I'm going to read to you all later the executive order that the president signed just like days ago. And this was in Project 2025. They were teed up to do this for some time. An executive order that is basically worded as this attempt to clean up the streets. The streets are infested with problematic people, drug addicts, and the mentally ill. And that's why the streets are dangerous, is essentially what this thing is claiming. And the way that they're claiming they're going to deal with that is to sweep them up, and either incarcerate them, forcibly send them to mental institutions, forced institutionalization. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I guarantee you, calling it right now, that what that is going to mean is an intensification of what it already means, is incarceration and forced labor of people who are physically and mentally able to work. And forced pill taking and physical restraint of people who are deemed mentally ill. That will include people who resist. Resist this very like rapey treatment. That's essentially the history of what is termed schizophrenia. Look up the history of schizophrenia, especially as a label that has been given to Black people. In this executive order, it acknowledges that the problem of homelessness has increased and increased and increased in recent years in the United States. Homelessness increased by almost 20% in 2024. Homelessness among families with children increased more than 30% in 2024. Why? Why is it so difficult for us to zoom out and ask ourselves, if there's a nation like the United States that has increasing and worsening homelessness year on year on year on year, and there are and every other developed nation and so many undeveloped, these are archaic, absolutely bullshit terms. But what are referred to as developed nations and what are referred to as undeveloped nations, why is there so much more addiction per capita in the United States than almost anywhere else in the world? Why? Are we honestly claiming that it's all of the bad individual choices of individual people when housing is completely unaffordable and is getting worse while wages are stagnant? Isn't that a completely random? Isn't that so weird that these things are happening simultaneously? I can't believe it. And literally the vast majority of resources available to people experiencing addiction are AA. AA has a 4% success rate, okay? On AA's website, it claims that the success rate is like over 80% or something. At a certain point, a university, I forget which, decided to look into this. They're like, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't seem like that's true. So they figured out that study that claims that the success rate of AA is so high was done by AA, okay? So the university did its own research and found out that AA has about a 4% success rate. If I am planting seeds into my cell tray and I have 100 cells, 100 little blocks of dirt, 100 little blocks of potting mix, and I plant 100 seeds and 4 of them sprout, is it logical for me to conclude that my potting mix works? That my program my protocol works? Is it logical for me to conclude that, or should I go, maybe I need a new potting mix? No, it's the seeds' fault. If they would only follow my 12 rules. These 4 clearly followed my 12 rules and it worked for them. This is so frustrating to me. Okay, so I saw an RV on Highway 99 this morning get impounded by 2 large black vehicles, 2 large, like huge SUVs that were not visibly police vehicles except for, have you seen these? The lights that go back and forth that go red and blue? Taking someone's home. The one other time that I've seen these vehicles was on River Road. There were loads of police and I went up to one and was like, what's all the fuss about? And they were like, there's an active shooter, they said casually. And I was like, oh, you all, huh? Like, I just got the vibe that was not true. I later found out, okay, all of the fucking police vehicles, the police were clearly police. Like, I could identify them very easily because they were fucking strapped, right? But all of the vehicles were these unmarked vehicles. I was later talking to a friend of mine who owns a taco truck near there. And he let me know that there was not an active shooter. It was an ICE raid, bitches. Okay. So, one feature of this hat that I forgot to show you is my wedding ring from my skate park wedding in Slab City. You know I love ya. I found the base of this ring on a run. I was just running. I don't even know why I picked it up. It fits me perfect. But I was like, a ring. And then there's this little middle part that you can't really see. It's just a little tiny piece of shit. I don't even know what it is. Not the white part. I'll get to that in a second. But there's this like little, it's like a piece of a machine or something, a little piece of metal that's very cute. And then this is a piece of rose quartz. There's all this rose quartz in Slab City. I was just sunning myself. And I found it on the ground, and then I asked, I was asking around for some super glue, and the person who provided it to me was this super nice lady who used to be a trucker. But anyway, okay. So my husband, who I've not seen in some time, Squirrely, so the last time that I saw him was relatively shortly after he relapsed. His he had been living on the street for years, traveling and playing damn good music. I should link his album. It's so good. Oh God, my heart. And he came here to where I live, and I helped the man get sober. That is not to freaking celebrate myself. What he did was a million times harder than me helping him. He transitioned from doing fentanyl to doing Suboxone while he was living on the street, then went to detox, asked me if I could get him into detox. Yup, let's go. The place that helped him get into detox has since closed for lack of funding under this new administration. Cause yeah, a lot, believe it or not, most homeless people don't have money for rehab. We got him into detox. He did it. He moved into a sober house. We got him a scholarship to move into a sober house for 2 months rent. He literally quickly got a job. It's amazing to me that it's expected of people to even 2 months, even 2 months to get a job and be paying rent. He paid almost $700 in rent to live with 13 dudes. Okay, and the landlords of sober houses are almost always very predatory people. Almost always. They don't care about sobriety. They're not sober themselves. They are making money off of incredibly vulnerable people. The landlord of his house, okay, so my former husband wanted to move at a certain point because his first sober house was like in East Jesus Nowhere, Springfield, and he wanted to move more centrally in Eugene, so he wanted to move to a new sober house. Made all the arrangements to move to a new sober house, which he did. The old one literally told him that this guy, I'll call him John, said that he had a signature from Squirrely, and yeah, that said that he was gonna give him like $600 on moving out or something. And I literally, so he was right here, he was in my passenger seat, like having the conversation with John, and was about to fucking freak out, understandably. And I was like, hey, can I talk to him? And was like, hey, John, just wondering what the date was on that signature that you claim to have. And he clearly was making up a date, like just out of his asshole. And I was like, oh, here, one sec, let me go through my call logs. Oh, John, so weird. So that date was actually squarely in the middle of when, my husband was, in Bridgeway Detox Center in Salem. Having his phone in a lockbox, calling me from the landline in the detox center. That's actually, he actually had never been in your sober house at that point. He was actually in detox during that time. So don't know what's up with your record keeping. So yeah. Then okay, so then he moved into a new sober house in Eugene. And this place, these are tenants who pay rent out of their own pockets, okay? And again, it ain't cheap. It was like he was paying like $650 here as well. And again, like, I fucking don't even know how many people lived in that house, like more than 13. They would UA people. They would UA me. Like, you can't smoke pot, you can't, nothing. Like, to be in these houses, you can't do nothing. So, at a certain point, they UA'd Squirrely, and he tested positive for THC. They told him that he had 2 hours to get out. This is not legal, but literally, okay, literally what the fuck is somebody who, what is he gonna do? What is he gonna do in that position? Like, they're literally gonna forcibly remove him, and he's gonna be on the street. Oh, let me get a lawyer. Let me, yeah. So, we found him a place to provisionally stay in someone's backyard for like a week. This was toward the end of February. We somehow found him a place that only needed like first month's rent to move in, not last and deposit. Because I can't fucking afford that. Who's out here affording that without help from intergenerational wealth or other, yeah. So we found him a place with just some roommates. This was not a sober house, right? Because he had just been kicked out of a sober house for smoking a fucking joint. And there is no... I'm working on a proposal for the city. There needs to be different types of sober housing. Who does it benefit? Who does it benefit to make someone who is a fucking alcoholic and fentanyl addict homeless again for smoking weed? Honestly, if all you're doing is smoking weed, congratulations. Like, you are amazing. Fucking amazing job. Yeah, we found him some new roommates. These were just normal ass people, in their mid-20s. And for them, drinking is normal. So that was the situation in which this person relapsed. And I stopped seeing him pretty shortly after that. I don't even know where he is. He ain't here. And now I know he's living on the street. Now, with this new executive order, he could get swept up. Again, this is someone who was sober. He had about 3 months. And yeah, first sober house tried to screw him and take advantage of him. We narrowly avoided that. Second sober house absolutely fucking screwed him. And if you think that people should have to be perfectly abstinent or be homeless, you are a fucking hypocrite. Because I had university professors who smoked weed. There is nothing wrong with smoking weed. I used to smoke weed for pain management instead of taking fucking opiates after surgery. It's a literal plant that grows out of the ground. The war on drugs is a war on the poor. I used to live with someone who was on more than 10 pharmaceuticals for pain management medications and psychiatric medications for various things, anxiety, mood. What is the difference between that person? Fuck. And that is a fucking miserable way to live, goddamn. What is the difference between that person and the person screaming on the street who you're like, should I call the police? Am I in danger? What is the difference between those two people? The difference is very simple. The person I used to live with had a very wealthy father and has been wealthy their entire life. They haven't worked as much as I have. I'm 32. This person is almost 80, okay? If you have ever received help from generational wealth, received help from a spouse financially, or even grew up in a household with where you could stably be housed. It's always baffling to me when people are like, yeah, when I go visit my parents, it's my childhood home. I'm like, that's crazy. I lived in more than 20 places by the time I was 18. Like, literally can't imagine. That's nuts. If you are someone for whom that's true, if you are someone who graduated without student loans, if you got to go to college for any reason, I want you to consider that you might be a little bit projecting when you look at someone who lives in abject squalor, who is filthy and clearly addicted, clearly living in fucking hell, and you say, that person doesn't deserve to be better off than they are. I want you to consider if you might be a little bit projecting. What does anyone deserve? Again, the United States has more homelessness and more drug addiction than almost any country on earth. Is this a matter of all of these bad individual people earning and deserving their place there? Does that make sense? I don't think so.